1.5 deals with multiplying fractions, and multiplying fractions is actually easier than adding fractions because you don't need to worry about a common denominator. So if I had 1/2 times 1/3, how do you multiply those? Just straight across. Yep. So cross multiply is an equation solving thing where you have fraction equals fraction. Did you just poke yourself with your pencil? Okay, well done. So forever in history, people watching this video are going to wonder who that was. And I won't say, but her first name starts with Hannah. So, to multiply these, they have to be in this form. You cannot multiply mixed numbers. So you just multiply straight across 1/6. And what does this mean? What's really going on here? Well, multiplication tells us the size of something. So if you had a building that was, the floor plan was 60 feet long and 80 feet wide, then the square footage would be 480 feet because you do 6 times 8. Okay? Well, the same thing is happening here. If you have half a pizza and you take 1/3 of what you have, how big is the piece you're left with? So what that is saying is we take half of a pizza and we're going to split that into 1/3, right? We take 1/3, and how big is one of those? 1/6. Okay, that's what's going on. And it gets more complicated, so we're not going to go into those details, but that's really what's going on. So if you had a field, and the field was 1/2 a mile long and 1/3 of a mile wide, how big is your field? Well, let's stretch this out to 1 mile. And then we have to stretch this out to 1 mile. Right? How big is your field? 1/6 of a mile squared, right? So 1/2 of a mile times 1/3 of a mile is 1/6 of a mile squared. And you can totally see that in the picture, right? If we stretch that 1/2 of a mile out to a mile and the 1/3 out to a mile, it's obvious that we are left with 1/6 of a square mile. Okay? So that's what multiplying fraction accomplishes. And like I said, it's easier to multiply fractions than it is to add them. So 3/12 times 4/18. You just multiply straight across. 12 over. Now, does anybody know there are 18 times tables? I don't. But I do know my 12 times tables and my 6 times tables. So watch this trick. What is 12 times 12? 144. What's 12 times 6? 72. So 12 times 18 must be 144 plus 72. That's not too hard. 226. Okay, now, does that simplify? What can I take out? Yeah, we could divide by 2. So 6/113, and chances are 113 is going to be prime. We have to write, sorry, we got to write this for Colin. December? Oh my goodness. Can't see anything. Oh, well, no, see, now I have the buttons. I can turn it back on. But the problem is I lost my assignment, so let's look at some of the problems in your assignment. How do you multiply a fraction and a whole number? You put the whole number over 1. 5 times 32. Now, I'm going to do this in my head. What is 5 times 30? 150. And 5 times 2 is 10. So the answer is 160 over 8. And then I can take out a 4, and I get 40 and 2. And I take out a 2, and I get 20. So this answer is 20. Okay. Number 2, 4 times 5 is 20. 7 times 9 is 63. And those don't have anything in common. Okay. Those you can do. All right, let's look at this one. So, A. 51 over 51 times 373. Is it going to be less than 373, equal, or greater? Equal. How come? This is the number 1, and when you multiply by 1, you don't change anything. Okay? So what's going to happen when I multiply by 54? It's going to go up. Why? 54 over 53 is slightly bigger than 1. Okay, and then C, it's going to be less than. Okay, number 6, how do you multiply 3 fractions? Straight across. 2 times 1 times 3, 3 times 11 times 5. Now, can I simplify this to make it a little bit easier for myself? Yeah. Yes. How can I simplify this before I multiply? Well, is 3 times 4 any different than 4 times 3? No, they're the same. So what I can do is reorder this 1 times 2 times 3 and 5 times 11 times 3. And what is this? That's 1. So I can ignore it. And just do 1 times 2 is 2, and 5 times 11 is 55. Now, did I really need to reorder it in order to do that? No. I just look at it and say, oh, that 3 and that 3, I don't need them. Okay? So, how do we divide? Yes, Monty? Just flip and times it. So 5 over 6 divided by 9 over 1. Which one do we flip? You have to flip the second one. So I'm going to flip this upside down, and I say times 1 over 9. Okay? So look at number 8. Here's another trick. 5 over 14 times 8 over 7. Now, I'm lazy. I don't like simplifying fractions because it's hard. It makes me weep. Okay? Do you notice any numbers I can get rid of inside here? Well, this one and this one share a 2. So I get rid of that 2. If I get rid of this 2, what is the 8? 4. Because it's a division. Anytime you divide, you have to flip the second one. Well, cross multiply is different. Yeah. And then what does the 14 become? 7. So 5 times 4 is 20, and 7 times 7 is 49. Now, let's see what happens if I don't do that. So 5 over 14 times 8 over 7. That's going to be 40 over 98. And then I would have to simplify it. So with multiplication, you can either simplify before or after, but before is easier. You cannot simplify division. So don't do any simplifying until you flip that division. Does that make sense? You flip the second fraction and multiply. Yep, that's the rule for a division. And I think that's going to be everything. Okay, get to work.